Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome to a pandemic video. This is for Hot Zone, North America and Europe. These are two different games. Now, these are not expansions for the pandemic game, but they're their own standalone little kind of mini versions. They have a little bit smaller boxes, they have a little bit smaller board, kind of focus again like one country, either North America or Europe. But they have the same exact gameplay rules with a couple of minor differences. If you want to know the full rules and kind of how to play Pandemic, you can go check out the link in my description for the full Pandemic board game. It follows the same as these, so I'm not going to re-go through the entire rules, but we'll just do a brief overview on them. What is kind of cool with these is although they are two separate games, each is their own game, you can pick up one or the other, is they do have stuff so you can mix and match them together if you would like. Because like this one has 4 operators, this one has 4 other different operators, so you can mix and match those guys together. And then they each have additional extra bonus cards in there. Extra like a game mode essentially, which you could add either combine together or put one to the other. I unfortunately have misplaced my rule book for North America, so we just have to kind of look at the Europe one for that. But yeah, so what's the big thing of the game? What is Pandemic overall, first of all? Pandemic is a fully cooperative game. You have to work together as a team. You are trying to eliminate diseases from around the world, or in this case, the countries, before they spread too far or you take too long and the disease becomes out of control. So you're going to have multiple actions during the game. Each player is going to have the option to treat diseases, share your research back and forth because you're going to use your research cards for moving or curing diseases. And then you're going to discard so many of the same colored cards to cure diseases. So very cool. So yeah, we got a couple different things in there. You can see we got some other different cards on this one. This is compatible with other Hot Zone games. So far, these are the only 2 they have released. But it doesn't mean they might not release more sometime in the future. But these games came out quite a few years ago, so I don't know if they still will. So what do we do on our turn? So first of all, what's in the game? What do we have? So I have the North America one here. Kind of look at the components. I'll kind of run through the game. We have our board here, which is a little bit smaller in size than the traditional Pandemic one, but it also enlarges the area and the words on there. The other one had a little bit smaller text and stuff. It's still gonna have a lot of the same stuff, like the outbreak meter is gonna be the same, but it's smaller because it's a more compact game. We have our infection rate, which again is smaller. We're actually using mini cards versus full-size cards, so again a little bit smaller frames. There's our infection deck, we have our player deck, then we have our cure infections, which they just put symbols on there and they just kind of got rid of some of that. The other big difference on here is there are 8 of each different color. There's only 3 colors versus 5. So that's one thing, again, it kind of shrinks up that. Instead of 4, sorry. There's 3 colors instead of 4, so that shrinks up. And there's only 8 spots instead of 13. So again, it just kind of shrinks all the stuff up. We're going to get our pile of cubes. We have red, blue, and orange. And then we have our different meeples. We have our outbreak, our infection, and then we have our different colored stuff. Now, for both games, the cubes are the exact same color. Just so I'm not going to have to go over that. And then the meeples, the regular tokens for the game are the same, but the meeples are different colors. So, again, so that one, they're very close together. So you can use each one for different games. So what do we get then? We get 4 different characters. So in the core game, we got 7. So here we actually get 4. So we have a total of 8 overall. Again, little mini cards. And they might work slightly different than the full game. We have our 4 action cards explaining what we can do. We have our infection deck, which will have all our different cities and the different colors. The 3 different colors. We have our player deck, which again will have the cities and the different colors. We have our epidemic cards. We only get 3 of them in here, so there's not a difficulty mode like there was in the other one. We have event cards, which are the quick play cards. And what is cool is the 4 events in this and the 4 events 4 events in North America and the 4 events in Europe are different. So again, you could mix and match them together to have different stuff. And then the America one has crisis cards. So as an extra little like difficulty game mode, you can add these crisis cards in there. And if we look at the Europe one quick, so we'll just have the 4 different characters in there you can play as. We'll look at these a little bit more in depth. We have our action cards, we have our infection cards, we have our city cards for Europe. Then they have their event cards, epidemic cards, but then they have mutation cards. So we have events and we have crises and mutations are 2 different things. So that's the big thing that makes them different from each other. So like, why would you want to buy one or the other? One's going to give you crisis as an extra little mode, and the ones that have mutations, and then you have 4 different classes for each. So it could be a reason to buy both of them for that. So what else do we have in here? Let's just kind of take a quick look. I'm not going to run over the setup. The setup works just basically like regular Pandemic, with a couple of differences. Is I'm sure like you're drawing, you're going to add your infection cards into each pile. You only have 3 of them. Again, you don't have up to 5 or 6 versus extra things. You have less of a deck. There's less cards in the deck because there's less things. You're going to place less infection cubes down or draw less stuff. Just some of that stuff you're going to do. So mutation cards are an optional tab that I'm using your first game, so we can get back to those a little bit later. Cooperative game, work to accept to cure diseases. Doing so by doing your 4 actions, draw 2 cards, draw infection cards. So that stays the same as the regular thing. So we have the Drive Ferry, move between areas, Direct Flight, discard a city card to move to that city, or Charter Flight, discard the city you're in to move anywhere. The only thing they get rid of is there is no longer the ability to move from Research Center to Research Center. Because the board is so much smaller, they only have 1 Research Center during the game. So each version will have a different research center somewhere. So that's why we didn't get tokens for those, because there's going to be 1 city that's your research for each game. Then the other thing you do is treat diseases, eliminate a cube, share knowledge. If you're in the same spot, you can either give a city of the city you're in, or take a card of the matching city. And you only have a hand size of 6 instead of 7, so slightly different there. Or discover the cure by giving it 4 cards instead of 5. So again, less cards, less smaller things, and they make it a little bit easier than that. Now the other thing they got rid of is there's no way to eliminate the infection. In the full Pandemic game, if you eliminate, after you discover a cure, if you eliminate all the cubes, you eliminate the infection, so they can't do it. But because this is a smaller game, they just got rid of that as an option. Epidemic cards work basically the same thing. You're going to draw cards, place them in there. They can create outbreaks, which will spread them through other things. If you're drawing the infection cards, they'll place cubes down. So all those things stay the exact same. Chain reactions. We have event cards can be played at any time, unless you're doing something else. Winning and losing, outbreak marker reaches the last track. You need to place a cube on the board, but no cubes left in that color. Or during the draw 2, there are no cards left. When the cure for all 3 diseases have been discovered, you win the game. You do not remove all cubes from the board to win. After the team discovers all the cures, local doctors are able to treat anyone still affected and the cure your team discovered. Pretty cool. So that's basically the thing there. I'm going to skip over mutations for a sec. We have Fire Punch. If you draw an epidemic or mutation card on your turn, you do not try to replace it. Hand size is 6. If you must be in the research city, so this one is Genevieve. I'm assuming the U.S. is still Atlanta. You immediately, when you discover your 3rd cure, affect refers to your city. It means upon your city is currently in. Effect doesn't act with another player. Both players must agree. Good Outbreak City can have up to 3 cubes of each color on it. Card clarification or some of that. So, for attack mutations, differences from Pandemic, which we kind of mentioned. Only 3 diseases instead of 4. During setup, slightly different number of cards are drawn. Cures, 4 cards instead of 5. There's only 1 research station. 3 academic cards. Diseases can't be eradicated. Roles are slightly different. Mutations can be added. So yeah, very, very cool stuff in there. So let's take a look at some of the cards and stuff first, and then we'll come back as we go through look at the mutations And that one we get there. So if we just take a look at our board again quick, we did kind of look at it earlier. This is North America. So we have in red, we have kind of the upper side, upper other side, and then the lower part. Yeah, 13 for each. Oh, this does kind of goes because it's North America. So we are getting into Mexico and the islands over here. It's Central America as well, a little bit. So that's cool that it's not United States. It's, all of that, which is also included. Except they didn't do Canada. I mean, I guess they did. They have Montreal and Toronto up here, and then Calgary, so just barely into Canada. But I guess, you can only have so much on the board, right? So Atlanta, there's our CDC center, so it has that. Like always, if they don't have that exact spot, they kind of have a little line to it, just so they can kind of keep the spaces a little bit between. But yeah, very, very cool there. So let's grab our cards and take a look at specifically what we got for that. Again, we'll do America first. So we have look at our infection deck. And we'll just kind of run through these. So we have Indianapolis, Chicago, Toronto, Montreal, Boston, New York City, Washington, Atlanta, Guadalajara, New Orleans, Miami, Havana, Santo Domingo, Tequila, Ciudad de Mexico, Monterrey, I shouldn't say Montreal, but wrong side of the country, Dallas, Seattle, Minneapolis, Denver, Calgary, Phoenix, San Francisco, and Los Angeles. So one other kind of big difference we're going to get in some of this versus a pandemic. Smaller cards, so they don't have all of the other little information and stuff on there, but that's not necessary on there. And then we have our player cards, which have these. We have the exact same cards. So they did do the same thing. They're what country it's in, what its population is. They didn't do the person per square foot thing, but that's, again, not a big deal. Chicago, Toronto, just kind of fly through these. Now, it would be, there's no way for you to, because there's more areas added to each different country, or in here than there are on the big board. So you can't say, can I use these small cards in place of the ones for pandemic? No, you can't, because a lot of these locations won't exist, and there's some that on there would not exist either. So you can't mix and match that way. So that's just that game. We have 3 epidemic cards. So our next player cards we're going to have are our events. So we'll actually stop and read these because these are brand new. We have Borrowed Time. Played during a do action step, not an action. The current player can do 2 additional actions this turn. We have the Airlift. Played any time, not an action. Move 1 pawn to any city. One Quiet Night. Played any time. Skip the Draw Infection step. And Remote Treatment, turn any 2 cubes from the board to the supply. So some of these are similar to the 5 event cards from the base, or from the original pandemic game. Some of these are brand new. Just kind of fun. They didn't just copy the same exact 5 cards and throw them in here. Then what we have are crisis cards that you can add. This is an alternate mode if you want to make the game a little bit more difficult. So there's a hotspot. Play immediately, then discard. Draw the bottom card from the infection deck, place the 3 matching cubes on its city, then discard that card. Logistics Failure. Resolve the Draw Infection card step twice this turn. If One Quiet Night was played, resolve this step once instead. Planes Grounded. Play immediately, stays in play. Players cannot do the direct flight or charter flight action. When the next crisis card is drawn, discard this card. Limited options, stays in play. Interesting. Reduce the player's hand size to 5 cards. Discard or play events as needed when the next crisis is discarded. Sanitation Failure. Advance the infection rate marker unless it's already at the end of the track. Contamination. Choose 1 pawn and check the color of their city. Place 1 cube of that color on each connected city. Okay, so if, like, you choose a pawn and you choose, like, whatever the blue character, then you check if they're in a blue city, then all the blue cards would get 1 extra one. Interesting. And then unacceptable losses. Draw the bottom card from the infection deck, return that infection card, and 3 matching cubes to the box. Interesting. So that will get rid of some stuff off the board. But it's good and bad, because if it gets rid of the infection card, yes, you won't draw that again. But it's 1 less card you have to worry about. But removing the 3 cubes is kind of good, helps you that way, but it also might make it harder. Yeah, so it's kind of cool. It's something you can just add in, then you might randomly draw those, as well as epidemic cards to make the game a little bit harder. It also then removes a card from your hand. We have our action cards. We have 4 of them, 1 for each player. And these are different actions we can do. Nothing terribly different there. And then we have our roll cards. So we have the medic. So when you treat a disease action, remove all cubes of 1 color. So instead of removing 1, you can remove all of them. Automatically remove and do not place cubes of the cured city. Cubes cured in your city. So before, I think it had to be, if it was cured, it's automatically moving and gets rid of them. We have the Generalist, which is a promo card I actually showed in the pandemic video, so you can go up to 5 actions on your turn. We have the Researcher. Give a city card from your hand to another player in your city. This card does not need to match your city. Now, the original one, I think, also lets you take 1 from them. This just limits that a little bit. But it still helps you if you need to transfer stuff around. And then the Dispatcher. Move any pawn directly to another pawn city, or drive or ferry another player's pawn. So this does change a little bit, because it just says in actions you get to move them. The full game you had to actually discard a card. I think it was a free action to move them from 1 city to the other. You didn't have to spend an action point. But then to do the other one, to move them from 1 space to another, you had to, as if you're acting, if it was your character for the turn, you had to spend an action point and discard that city card if you wanted to move them farther. So it's kind of, interesting. A little bit different, but kind of neat as well. So how many crisis cards did we have when I was looking at that? We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I don't have my book for everything for North America, but for the mutation cards for Europe, it does say shuffle all the cards face down. During step 4, shuffling the epidemic cards into 3 piles. Also, shuffle some of their standard difficulty 1 per pile, heroic difficulty 2 per pile. So I'm guessing the crisis are going to work very similar. You don't just shuffle all 9 into the deck. It's kind of, if you want, instead of adding more epidemic cards to make the game more difficult, you can add more of these into each deck. If you want 1 of each, you're adding 3 of them. You have 3 chances to grab them things that can cause trouble. Or you can have up to 6, and there's 7. And here there's 9 of them, so they can do that as well. But yeah, that can kind of add some interesting stuff there. So, alright, let's take a look at the Europe stuff really quick. Kind of see what we got there. So if we're going to pull up the board for that. And here's our Europe board. Now, obviously, being from America, I don't know as much about Europe. But it does kind of move some of the icons around a bit. Player stuff on the top just because of where how the country's laid out. But again, we still have 8 per each area. We have stuff up here in Russia. Then we, of course, have Europe. We have the Great Britain islands over here. And then there's our starting zone there. So it's always 1 spot. But yeah, it's a very... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So yeah, 8 on there. So we have that. Then let's hop back in and look at our decks. So we're going to have our 4 action cards. we will have our infection deck, which we will have. I'm going to hopefully not butcher every one of these names. We have Glasgow, Dublin, London, Paris, Amsterdam, Hamburg, Berlin, Praia, Geneva, Wang, it's not right. I know that's not right. Roma, Madrid, Lisboa, Athena, Sofia, and Budapest. And then for red, we have Stockholm, Copenhagen, Helsinki, Moscow, Warsaw, Kiev, Minsk, and Bucharest. And hopefully I didn't butcher all of them too terribly bad. Then we have our player decks, which have the same cards, so we're just going to kind of fly through them. Now I'm noticing on the bottom corners here, so if we just compare like one to the other, like same, except they have the little symbol on the bottom, which shows Europe. And they didn't put one on the America one, but they put one on the Europe. That way, if like you have all these for some reason near each other, you can separate the decks out really quick. So now, obviously, questions that come up with this is, if you buy both of these, could you play them with more than 4 players? I think if you add in more of the difficulties, like if you combine the mutation and the crises, or maybe even adding some more epidemics, because you'd have 3 from each set. Possibly you could play with more players. But the other thing to also keep in mind, though, is you run out of cards in your deck, the game is over. So if you go from 4 players, that means an entire round, you're drawing 8 cards out of the deck, out of the 25-card deck. Obviously, you have mutations in there, so you have a couple more cards if you add more epidemics. But of course, adding them in there just adds 1 or 2, only if you add, again, if you're going full turn, you're doing 8 cards, and you only add another 8 cards, that's only 1 extra round, basically, is what you're doing. But each round, yeah, it's also adding 8 bad cards to the game. So if you add a 5th player, right, you're drawing an extra 2 cards every round. So now you're adding even more. So it's like the game you might go quicker because you have another person helping you, but you also might run into the issue of the deck might run out faster. Again, if you had 6 players, the same thing. You could definitely try it. The only other thing, weird variation, you could try playing both games at the same time. And then you could kind of like have both boards next to each other. You could try a weird variant, but that would be weird. It'd be interesting to do because there's no way to go between, like, you'd have to fly is the only way to travel between cities from one country to the other. So that'd be an interesting game mode to play, but that's something completely different. We have our 3 epidemic cards, and we have our event cards. So we have Mobile Hospital. Play at any time, not in action. This card remove 1 cube from each city in the current player ferry drives to. Forecast. Play at any time. Look at and rearrange the top 6 cards of the infection deck. Helps you plan what you're doing. Resource planning. Rearrange the top 4 cards of the player deck. Do not mix them with your hand. And then call to mobilize. Play at any time. Each player may immediately go up to 2 drive ferry actions. So these are kind of cool. Again, I think it would be neat if you want to. If you have both of these, you can either pick each one, or again, if you're finding the game a little bit hard, add all 8 event cards in there, just because, or even if you're not necessarily finding the game hard, but you want to add, like, the crisis or the mutation mode in there, but then it's seeming to get a little bit too difficult. Again, you could have more of these events, add some more cards to the deck, which again lengthens out your time, but the fact is these are all positive cards are definitely helpful. And again, if you're playing a 4-player game, it's 4 extra cards added to the deck's only an extra 2 players. It's not even a full round of players. Cool. So let's take a look at our mutation cards and see what they do. So we have Highly Contagious. Discard when the yellow disease is cured. So during the draw infection step, draw one additional card. If the player has 2 or more yellow city cards. So I'm guessing these come out and then stay out, as opposed to the other ones that got. When a player draw a mutation card, since have a little bit harder to understand rules, has a continuing effect until the disease is cured. Modify either treat the disease action or draw the infection card step. The cards showing more than one mutation card can be played at the same time, including multiple. After you draw a mutation card has been cured, it has no effect and discard it. So yeah, interesting. So you draw these, it's going to add a... The other ones were more or less like either they stayed till the next crisis or they were... and they were limiting how your game worked. This is going to be interesting. Draw one additional card if it has 2 or more yellow city cards. And then we have a blue one like that and a red one like that. And this is why there's 9. There's 3 for each color. So you have a blue, yellow, and red for resistant to treatment. Discard when a red disease is cured. If there are 3 cubes on a city, you must spend 2 actions to treat a disease there. I would assume, it's normal if you do it, it would cure all. You could cure all 3 of them if the disease is cured. But if there's 3 there, it's harder to cure. I would assume the medic could probably avoid this, but I'm not for sure. And then I have a yellow, blue, and red for asymptomatic carriers. When a red infection is drawn, place 1 cube on a city with no red cubes and place... when a red infection is drawn on, place a cube on a city with no red cubes, place 2 instead. So interesting. So one's going to make it harder to eliminate cubes because you have to spend 2 actions. One's going to add an extra cube to someone that hasn't been infected, and one is going to... What was the first one exactly again? Draw an additional card if you have 2 or more yellow cards. So if you're in yellow trying to get rid of yellow, it's going to make it a lot... Or if you have 2 yellow cards, it's going to make it harder to get rid of them. So yeah, those are very interesting, because then they'll stay out until you get rid of the stuff. And I like how they don't necessarily interfere or do the exact same thing the crisis cards do. Cool. Again, that's why if they made like another version of the game, that'd be kind of neat as well. Even if it was like the other third part of the country, if they somehow got like Africa and Oceania all together in like the other part of the map. But I get the problem there is that you'd almost have to do like Africa or again, South America either. You almost have to do them as their own separate things just because there's only like drive between them. But yeah, if they made one for each one of those, that'd be kind of neat. So our new roles are Virologist. When you discover a cure, you may replace 1 required card with any other 2 cards. Neat. So like if you're trying to cure like red, instead of having 4 red, you could have 3 red and then 2 of any other color. So you could have a total of 5 cards. Action. Once per turn, remove 1 cube of the matching color with a card in your hand. Neat. 1 cube of a matching color. So this is kind of supposed to be like replacing the 1 character from the core set that lets you just cure stuff a little bit quicker. Containment Specialist. When you enter a city of 2 or more cubes of the same color, remove 1 of them. Interesting. So kind of like semi better than the medic, because you can automatically keep removing someone as long as there's 2, but the other one only does it if it's cured. Interesting. We have the Pilot. Fly to any city within 2 connections of your city. Skip any cities in between. You may take 1 pawn with you. So again, nice movement character. And then the last one is the Quarantine Specialist. Do not place cubes in your city or cities connected to it. Does not apply during the initial step, which she pretty much plays the same. So yeah, that is very neat. It's very cool stuff there. So that is our pandemic hot zones. North America and Europe. Is one better than the other? Not necessarily. I think I could definitely, again, see picking up both of them. So you have all 8 different roles to play as, because you might want to try one for one game and the other. Again, you have the Crisis and Mutations, which are different. other than that, the rest, they're the exact same game. Whether it's North America or Europe, you have the same number of cities, same number of red, blue, and yellow cards. The rules are the same otherwise. So again, if you're looking at for that reason, if you have a preference in country, I guess, you can pick it up. Otherwise, yeah, you're just getting the different specialists or the different crisis or event cards. So, like I said, pick up both of them if you really like it. Now, would I recommend this game over the full Pandemic? I don't generally do like recommendations for games. I would say the kind of the difference would be is this might be a little bit quicker, being again 3 colors versus 4, not having to worry about all the different having to place research stations. That's one less action you have to worry about. Having less cards. I think it's going to be a little bit faster paced game. So if you like the original Pandemic or you've played it and you're like, hey, I like the game, I like it a little bit quicker, this can definitely work with that. Again, yeah, I think it'd be a very interesting game. They have other expansions for the original Pandemic, which can add more and different stuff, which might add some of these other mechanics, like the mutations or the crisis to the original Pandemic. I don't have any of them, so I can't say for sure. But in general, I think these are both fun. Again, it'd be cool if they came with some more different hot zones. But that's what it is. Because basically all you have to do is come up with a couple more different roles in an event, and then maybe some other little mechanic. But that'd be definitely cool. Alright, that's what we got for this video. See you guys later. Bye.